Alright? 3D printers. Not only have they changed my life outside of bikes, they have also changed my life inside of bikes. And with all these tools, a 3D printer is by far my favourite. Let me explain why. I think I'm going to start off by showing you a few parts that I've made. There's a lot on this bike. It is a Suzuki TL1000R. Or it was. I'll get into this bike first, and then I'll show you a few other parts that I've made for other bikes. Awesome. All the stuff that I'm going to show you is designed by myself as well, and we'll go over a little bit of my designing process and software / hardware later on in the video. Starting off, custom, well, I'm not even going to say custom because it's all custom. Front number board. I didn't particularly want to run a headlight on this bike, so I didn't. Which leads nicely on to, I didn't want the clocks in front of the dash bulking things up. So I wanted them to mount on the handlebars. So how would you do this without a 3D printer? Well, this is what I done. Bear in mind, a lot of these parts I started many years ago. This is one of them. And probably never finished them or refined them as nice as what I could do. But ultimately, I don't really care how stuff looks as such. I'm more about functionality. So if they look a bit weird, that will be why. But they do function well. Cool, it was a good fit. Like I was saying, I wanted the clocks to mount to the bars. So this is what I made. These pegs on the dash here then go through the holes, which I have stuck. I have then stuck rubber grommets into. That is held onto the bike with some built-in clamps. It might be better if I have a light on here. Hang on. Is that better? Oh, I think that probably is better. The clamps are also integrated into the clock mount here as well. So it is an all-in-one solution. The nice thing about printing is you can go back to it and change it whenever you want. Yep, that's not quite right, but one day maybe it will be. The fuse box, which originally sat in the front nose cone, that was in the way, flapping about. I have mounted that where the ignition barrel used to sit. Something like that. You can't really see that one, but it's there. Because the ignition barrel is on the side here. Ignition barrel bracket mount there as well. That's quite a simple one. This coolant overflow reservoir, or whatever you want to call it. These radiators were going to be spoilt by having a big expansion bottle on the side, or wherever it used to sit. Probably up here as well, actually. This is off a computer, I think, and they bolt into the original holes on the bike. All of this stuff is reversible. Is the nice thing about 3D printers is you can customize stuff to bolt on and off as long as you've got fixing tabs, etc. Here, my scoops for ultimate airflow. This is just to make it look a little bit more aggressive, really. Again, very early design. Never got around to finishing them. They want to be about this big, really. That's just to try and get more air into the airbox, which is missing because I've got these pod filters on here, rightfully or wrongfully. Well, that's not sketchy at all. Oh, fucking hell, that scared me. Right, awesome. I'll do it from here. I couldn't find any filters which were A, big enough, or B, big enough here to clamp onto the throttle bodies here. So, bring in 3D printing. These have got a plastic outer spigot here, and I made some adapters which bolt to the throttle bodies to clamp the air filters into. Now we'll go over materials a little bit later, but in essence, I'm going to call it plastic and rubber for the sake of ease. I made these out of a rubber here, so they are flexible. I can't really show it to you because I'm holding the tank up. The bits with the clamp on are rubber, so they clamp onto the air filter. And I made these plastic toppers, which then clamp the rubber down onto the throttle body. So it's a 2-part clamp, that is. Wicked. Coming to the rear, something very simple. A U bracket to hold the ECU down to the plate underneath. That plate. This grab rail / tail is also 3D printed. 2-piece. I didn't have a big enough printer at the time, so 2-piece, and put a rod and glued it in between. This is the only non-reversible bit because I cut this off to get rid of the passenger side of the subframe, but I can just get a new subframe if I ever want to put this bike back to standard. Just for information, the reason why this is how it is, street fighted, or some would say ruined, is because at the time I didn't have a big enough shed to keep this in. With the original tail unit on and the original nose fairing as well, the bike was substantially longer than what it is now, and I just didn't have the space to keep that longer bike in there. So I did try to sell the bike when it was semi-original and couldn't get £1,000 for it in its original state. Now, like I say, this was probably 8, 9, 10 years ago. Also, the TL bikes in general, I do have a bit of an affinity to, because the TLs are the bikes which probably got me into motorbikes to begin with. My dad has one, which maybe I'll show on the channel soon. When I was old enough to buy a big enough bike, this is the first big bike that I bought. Foolishly, but my dad had one, so yeah. This is the result of that. Then it carried on from there. So there we go. There's a short tale of why it looks like this to begin with. Rear set bracket. These are custom rear sets that I had off an old track bike, and they just so happened to kind of suit the red and blue theme that I had going on here. Red, blue, red, blue. The spacing of these two holes was off. Rather than not use these, I could then 3D print a adjuster plate to bolt onto there and then bolt this to. One of my nicer looking pieces, the custom exhaust brackets with my own number on them. Look at that. This bike has got a full custom stainless exhaust, and once I mounted these carbon silencers on there, I needed a way to mount the brackets onto there. Look at that. Again, maybe the hardware is a bit not great, but look at it from this side. That looks better. On the left-hand side, we went for red, because I can. The left and right are different designs, different lengths apart. You can slightly see that there. And different angles because of the way the custom exhaust comes up here and here, and the clearance needed for the swinging arm. They did take a bit of messing around with, but we got there in the end. And they're pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. And I think the last thing I have to show here is this bracket here. I can't quite remember why, but I changed the slave cylinder over. It could have been just because I wanted the blue one. That is very possible. It might have had more reason to it at some point. I can't quite remember why, but this is blue and awesome. So this is a Hayabusa slave cylinder, and it then obviously wouldn't bolt onto the original holes on here. Again, kind of fitted around everything reasonably well. Now bear in mind, and we'll go over this a bit later, but the way the printers work is they do layer on layer on layer. So when you are doing applications like this, you are effectively trying to pull the layers apart. So this is the weakest way to have 3D prints, and it's on a pretty strong clutch, to be honest. It takes quite a lot of force to engage the clutch on motorbikes. This has had a few test pieces, and here is one of them. So this is the slave cylinder, mounts onto there and there, with the clutch rod going through the middle, and these are where the bolts go in. Here, here, with these recesses to put washers in so you don't crush the plastic. As you can see, this one has pulled apart. This one had about 50% infill, so the inside is about 50% hollow, and just this outer rim was solid. I think there was an issue with this to begin with. That is the weakest way to test these prints. In every other direction, they are incredibly strong, but when you're trying to pull the layers apart like that, that is the weakest way to do it, and even that held up well. The benefit of designing your own parts is if and when this breaks, I can just print another one and bolt it in place for effectively pennies. I've had this on the bench for months waiting to do this video, so now I've shown it to you, I can put it in the bin. Let me know if you want to know more about any of these parts, by the way. I'm kind of skimming over them because, you know, I'll be here forever talking about them, but if you do happen to have a TL and want to mount one of them things on there, let me know. So that's it for this bike, I think. I'll do a quick... I'll show you a few other bits that I've printed for other bikes, and then we'll go and show you my printers, and I'll explain a bit more about materials and the process that I use, etc. Another rear set. On this KTM, we've got custom number plate holder. That's been put to test, done thousands of miles. Oh, fuck. And it's held up very well. Also flexible, so if you run into things, it doesn't break off. A lot of these bikes, by the way, will be featured on the channel at some point, so Awesome. Going on to the Zero FXS. We've got some super special designed brackets here to mount the clocks onto the tank here. The angles that you can achieve, as opposed to bending it out of a piece of metal, are much better. So things like this you could never make out of metal, you can do with plastic easily. This bike, now if you watch the other video, up here maybe, then you'll see that I've done quite a lot of printing on this. Little bolt caps like this, just for finishing touches. This, which is probably the best thing that I've ever made, which moves the seat back about 4 inches and gives you somewhere to put your drinks bottle, along with this cover underneath, this rear bracket for the back of the seat, tail light and mudguard. On this BRZ, we've got this rear plate here to stop the mud going into the motor and battery area. This is the bike which I don't really want to show you too much of, so I'll try not to, but these rubber shrouds, radiator covers here as well, and also this intake tube here going from the carb to the airbox. Little things like a bracket to hold your reservoir on your race bike. Another number plate holder, not quite as good this one, but it is all plastic and I did crash it. You can just about see the blue part there, but it gives you somewhere to mount that basically. Also the thermometer holder thing as well. Front tank rubbers, rear tank rubbers, wrap around headlight bushes where the headlight brackets are going to mount onto that. These are quite cool. Engine rubbers as well, because the old ones were fucked. Fork stops on track bikes to stop your forks hitting into the frame. Not really bike related as such, other than it does carry my bikes, but how about a cup holder for a Renault Master van Mark II? Twin cup holder slash bottle holder. Awesome, right? Mounts into the original ashtray, no modifications needed. I think that's about it in my van. I don't really do much to my van other than drive it occasionally. Colour changing. Woo. Idea of a few 3D printers that I've got. Here's the basics of a 3D printer. You have a spool of plastic, which is fed down a tube into a nozzle. The nozzle is around 200 degrees Celsius. Some get much hotter than that. Some you can do a little bit less. You then have 3 motions controlled by 3 motors. You've got your left and your right. You've got your up and down on here. And then on this particular printer, the bed moves back and forward. The computer slash software decides what motor moves and when, and you end up with the finished product. Oh yeah, the 4th motor is also feeding the plastic down the nozzle as well. And you also get bigger printers. Here's my hand. Here's my hand. Here's my hand. Material-wise, there is plenty of materials about. I typically tend to use plastic. This stuff is PLA and is the most basic and affordable printer filament. I also use TPU, which is the rubber, which I've talked about earlier, and this is flexible. So here's Tinkercad. This is the software that I use to make all of my designs. We're going to make here a mock wheel spacer if you were doing custom wheels and wanted to check the spacings of the wheels, etc. before you made them into metal. So I'm going to keep it very simple, but just a quick 101 of how Tinkercad works. This is designed, I think, with children in mind, so it is very basic, but for me, there's certain workarounds that you can do, and it's really intuitive and easy to use. And as I haven't got a degree in computer engineering or 3D design, it works for me. So we're going to start off with a solid cylinder here, as you can see, and these are your outside dimensions. So for example, if we want that 25 by 25 millimeters, lovely. We want it to be 25 millimeters tall. We then want to put a hole through the middle of that for the axle to go through. So we get a holed cylinder. You can change it on here as well if you want to, from solid to a hole, but you've got selections over here to make that even easier. Our axle, for example, is 15 by 15. That wants to be at least the length of the cylinder, so the hole goes all the way through. We then need to align these. So we've got the top here. Like I say, I'm just skimming through a few of the bits because you'll pick these up if you get into it anyway or want to get into it. This is not the channel to learn that on. This is just showing you how easy it is. There we go. We combine the two parts together, our solid and our hole, and we end up with our wheel spacer. We then export that. We export it as an STL file. Perfect, which we then pick up in our slicing software. So the slicing software turns your 3D model that you've made in your software, and it turns it into a file which can be printed by the printers. There we go. This is the file that we've now got. You've got your settings over here. You've got your printer selection there. You've got your filament selection there. And these down here are all of your print options in terms of how strong you want your model, if you want it hollow or solid plastic, how fast you want to print it, etc., etc. We're just going to keep it on the base settings here, so as it comes to me, no messing about with it. Lovely, and we click slice. The good thing about the printers that I use, the Bambu printers, is that most of these settings on here are pretty bang on, so you haven't got to really mess about changing settings. 9 times out of 10, you can download your model, put it into the slicer, and send it to your printer, and you're done. So once you've sliced your model, you can then check through the cross-section of your model to see what it's going to look like on the inside. Say, for example, we don't like how that looks, or we want it to be thicker. We want it to be thicker or stronger. We can then go onto here, change the amount of infill it has. We can change the amount of walls that it has, for example. Make our wheel spacer a little bit stronger. Lovely. You can see us change the infill there. That's how it's going to look in the end. We then go to print. And your printers that you've got will then pop up on this drop down menu here, or you can stick it onto an SD card and put it onto another printer. We'll send it over to the printers to here, and then the printer starts to print your part. Nearly there. And it's done. Took, I don't know, 12 minutes to print in the end. Pop it off the bed and job done. I'm doing it one-handed, so it's not going to be the best, but you can then change your tolerances if you need to and print it again. There's the basics of 3D printing a part.
Wow, I've got a proper hat on. There we go. A little insight into 3D printers, some of the bits that I've made, and how invaluable they are to me for prototyping parts and making little bits which you couldn't get hold of anywhere else. Quick and easy. Thanks for watching. See you next time.